Hi, everyone. I've been thinking about pale mail and if he and his family has survived. Let's read and find out what else happened. But before we do that, let's think about the learning intentions we're going to do today. We are learning to explain the interactions between two or more people or individuals. We will be successful when we can use the specific information from the text to explain those interactions. We also will be quoting accurately from a text to inference and explain what the text is saying. We'll be successful that when we can explain what the text is saying by using the text as well as inferences that we've made and quoting from the text to support our inferences. Let's get started. You will be using a cause and effect graphic organizer today. By identifying interactions like causes and effects of that action, we can better understand the text. Let's begin. As spring progressed, Pale Male and his mate took turns sitting on 3 eggs. Ignoring window washers and wailing fire engines and honking horns below, they sat and they sat. And birders watched and waited. The eggs should have hatched by late April or early May. Finally, in June, it became obvious that the eggs were not going to hatch. The Hawks Small Fan Club was disappointed. That is sad that the eggs didn't hatch. As we were reading this, what question did you ask? What clues in the text did the author give us that told us the eggs may not hatch? That's right. When the author stated the eggs should have hatched in late April or early May, and yet they still hadn't hatched clear into June. Hmm. Were you asking why? But later in June, their sadness turned to shock when they discovered that the building management of 927 Fifth Avenue had removed the nest. Residents had complained about bird droppings, feathers, and the remains of dead animals sometimes falling to the sidewalk in front of their building. The wealthy New Yorkers who lived there did not consider these messy hawks to be the kind of neighbors they wanted. There is another turn of events, isn't there? Now the bird watchers are not only sad that the eggs didn't hatch, but what has happened now? What evidence in the text tells us why the people who lived in the apartment building did not want the hawks living there? Sounds to me like they are pretty particular about who they want for their neighbors. Hmm. How does the picture support the reason they didn't want the hawks nesting at the site? Some hawk experts thought that Pale Male would find a new nest site, but Pale Male would not be evicted. He and his mate returned in the spring and built a new nest exactly where the old one had been. This time, the building management left it alone, thanks to a stern warning from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service threatening substantial fines. Hawks were protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918. Destroying their nests was a serious violation. And a year later, in April 1995, the hawk's perseverance was rewarded. 3 fluffy white chicks were born in New York City. Hmm. Why do you think Pale Male built his nest in the exact same place? What evidence do you have from the text from yesterday or today that would support your answer? Do you remember yesterday it talked about how the management had placed spikes up on the building? They were putting them there to keep the birds away. But what did Pale Male do? He used the spikes to intertwine the twigs and build an even sturdier nest. I wonder if Pale Male recognized this was a place that was safe. Hmm. And now there are baby chicks. What caused the management to not remove the nest again? Do you remember yesterday? It talked about how the management had placed spikes up on the building. Yep, that's right. Hmm. I wonder what's going to happen now. We do know that the management did not want to be fined, did they? That's right. Let's keep going. Oh, I have one more question. What in the text tells us there was excitement about the baby chicks? Does this give us a clue about how the narrator felt about Pell Mell and his family? The hawk watchers of Central Park were ecstatic. From early morning until nightfall, they gathered around the model boat pond to get the best view of the nest. They watched Mom and Dad Hawk tend their babies and talked about the chicks like proud new aunts and uncles. How does the narrator help you understand the excitement about the baby hawks and Pell Mill's family? That's right. It shows how the birders connected like family. The connection was how a family would react to a new baby. Even saying the humans felt like they were aunts and uncles to the baby birds. That's right. Do you think the apartment management felt like family to Pale Mail and the baby chicks also? Why or why not? Do you see the baby chicks? What do you think Pale Mail and his mate are doing? New Yorkers on their way to work or out for a stroll wondered what celebrity these people would could be spying on with their binoculars and telescopes. The enthusiastic hawk watchers were always happy to point out the nest, and it was the rare person who was not surprised and delighted to discover a family of hawks making a home in the city. News of the hawks spread, and soon New Yorkers who had never been bird watchers before were stopping by the model boat pond to see what they could see. The hawks were becoming Fifth Avenue most admired celebrities. Why do you think it was so unusual for a hawk to be living here? Why is the narrator calling Pale Male a Fifth Avenue celebrity? I don't know if you knew this, but Fifth Avenue is a very elite area in New York City. Very fancy and mostly very expensive. And many celebrities, actors, musicians, and well known people are usually seen there. So now Pale Male is being compared to them? Is it because he is an actor or a musician or famous? No, but he is becoming well known too, all around New York City. By June, the chicks had grown almost as large as their parents. Gone was their baby down. Now they had flight feathers. They began jumping up and down in the nest and flapping their wings in preparation for their first flights. In the wild, their nest would have been a tree with branches to hop down to until they got the hang of flying. The birders were worried. Would these city hawks survive that scary first flight with nothing but cement and asphalt below them? The first fledgling took off with a big hop and then began flapping his wings madly like an oversized sparrow until he landed, awkwardly but safely, on the roof of an apartment building several blocks up Fifth Avenue. The fledgling spent the day half flying, half hopping from balcony to balcony until Pell Mell gave his brave baby a first lesson in how to fly like a self respecting hawk. Why do you think Pale Mell did help the fledgling? Excuse me, didn't help the fledgling instead of first allowing the fledgling to do the hopping and half flying? Why did he do that? Have your parents ever allowed you to try something first, then helped you master it after you tried and failed? What about riding your bike? Can you think of another time? Sometimes parents have to let us try something on our own, but they are there to help us when we need it. I wonder if that is what Pale Mill was doing. I'm going to move my picture real quick so we can see the text. The fledgling watched his father soar over the Metropolitan Museum of Art and circle back with scarcely a flap of his wings. The novice caught on and proudly flapped slowly back to his nest, just in time for dinner. Within a few days, all three fledglings had abandoned their cramped nest for the trees of Central Park. Let me move my picture again. I'm sorry. We need to see the text, don't we? Each spring, more and more fans of the Hawks came out to watch Pale Male and his mate renovate their nest with new twigs and leaves. And there was always a great celebration with new chicks hatched. The birders watched the hardworking parents ferry home pigeons, rats, and occasionally a squirrel or a songbird from their well stocked Central Park meat market. Even after fledglings left the nest, they would stay under the protection of their parents for several months. Pale Male would always respond to their hungry cries with some meat. He would chase off those pesky crows and let his hawklets know that the blue jay bullies couldn't really harm them. This good dad was once observed helping his hawklets learn to catch rodents by dropping a live mouse near one of them. There's a couple of things I want you to look at on this page. First of all, I want you to go over to this part where it said that Pale Male had and his mate were ferrying home pigeons, rats, and occasionally a squirrel or a songbird. The ferrying here would mean like carry them, bring them home, transport them. But then I want you to look where he got them. It said from their well stocked Central Park meat market. They went to the market to get food? No, I think that's figurative language, don't you? So, where did they get the pigeons and the rats and the squirrels? That's right. They got them in Central Park, where naturally those animals would be in a park, right? So, Central Park was kind of like their grocery store, huh? That's pretty cool. Then I want you to come back over on this side of the page. It said this good dad was once observed helping his hawklets learn to catch rodents by dropping a live mouse near one of them. Oh my goodness. I like how the narrator continues to connect Pale Male, like being a father, with how human fathers protect and provide for their families. That's pretty cool, right? Over the next 9 years, the Hawks would rear 23 chicks. And a CBS News commentator actually nominated Pale Mill for Father of the Year. Life in the big city was good for the Hawks. Little did Pale Mill know that his greatest challenge was yet to come. Oh no, Pale Male has already had quite the life and definitely some challenges. But he and his mate faced those challenges and, with some help with their human family, have overcome those obstacles. I'm wondering what greater challenge could occur for Pale Male. Oh, let's see what happens. This is it. So, fifth graders, it's time to look at some causes and effects. First of all, we read a challenge for Pale Male and his mate. Was the building management removed the nest? But what happened because his nest was removed? That's right. Pale Male rebuilt the nest in the same place. Hmm. Then we saw baby chicks were hatched and were in the nest. What happened because there were baby chicks now? I'm going to encourage you to go back in the text and you have to determine the effect. What happened because the baby chicks showed up in the nest? All right, so now I have one more thing. I have given you the effect. The birds became celebrities. I would like for you to tell me what was the cause of that? What caused the birds to become celebrities? Were they actors, musicians? No. So, what was it that caused them to become so well known? Well, fifth graders, I'm wondering what is going to happen to Pell Mell. I cannot imagine what his next challenge will be. We have identified interactions between Pell Mell and the citizens of New York City. We have also identified connections between the people and the Pell Mell and his family using the text to support our reasoning. Now it's your turn. Don't forget to finish the effect of baby chicks showing up in the nest, and then what would have caused the birds to become celebrities. I know you can do this, and I'll see you next time to find out what the next challenge is that Pale Male faces.